Um, Welcome to Community Engagement with Burhan tonight. Actually, we'll be talking English and Somali as well. And I'll be speaking in Somali. But the whole idea is, affordable legal access for all. That's my goal is because people don't have access. People don't have, a lot of times it's challenging. They don't know how to do it. So I want to try to break down those barriers to help people who, especially new Americans, new communities who don't have access. So my goal is to kind of like break down barriers to help them share with, also I've had my good friend for a long time, Gail Warren, who is also a high original TPLSI, also has always advocated, access. So Gail, welcome to my channel, Community Engagement Burhan. It's where we empower and break down the barriers and lifting up diverse communities who really don't have access.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate being here today. This is very exciting for me.
Thank you. So I know, the equal access, affordable access is very challenging. Many people, for us, who don't have a lot of legal access when it comes to services, can you talk about affordable legal access? What can help people in terms of small business, individual or family members? I know they have multiple services.
Yes. So I've been working with this company for about 20 years. I've been around for actually 50 years. And one of the things that I've been very passionate about, which is how we actually met, is I have always known that new Americans have had a lot of issues when it comes to our legal system. I mean, heck, we have a lot of issues when it comes to our legal system. And, having a language, English as a second language, and then our legal system, it just creates a whole nother layer of problems. And so, having affordable access to legal services, equal justice under the law has been something I've been very passionate about for a long time. We currently focus on the North America. We provide services in Canada and in the US, in every state. And so for myself, just to kind of give you a little bit of background, I found out about services like this where I could pay a little, like less than $1 a day or a little subscription, and then have access just like my health insurance, but to lawyers. And so, or abogado, or whatever you want to say in Somali. Having access was something that I became familiar with very early. And we used to live in Dublin. They had great schools there. So my family lived in Dublin, and as a family of color, my husband would go out and he would, go to the store at night or whatever. He was a night owl kind of dude, and get stopped all the time. And so I got the services through my job where I was working at a bank at the time. But then when I left the bank, I couldn't use it. And so I had to look for something. And that's when I found this company. And when the difference that happened is when I had the service to the bank, they would refer me to an attorney. The attorney would tell me that their fee, it would still be, quite a bit of money. And then when I got this service, they would refer me to an attorney in their network, like my healthcare. And then I was able to get representation for a traffic ticket. I was able to get my will done. I was able to get my living will, healthcare power of attorney. I was able to ask questions about starting a business and all these other areas. And it didn't cost me anything extra. It was amazing to be able to pick up the phone 24/7, talk to an attorney about my issue. If it's, emergency, after hours, but daytime, just to talk about a traffic ticket, and then them go to court with me or for me. Huge.
Wow. That's the reality because, it's not like it's everybody who can afford, hiring attorney consultation and things like that. It's very challenging, especially when you're fighting to get your meals day to day, especially minority community don't have a lot of them representation, access and stuff like that. I've seen many refugee immigrants, I see them, a lot of them, the same scenario. And anybody is that because access, asking attorneys, the consultation is very huge, very expensive. And people
about $350 an hour, most attorneys cost. Depending on the situation, it could be more than that. Some of my clients have been told $3,500 retainer They own a
Yeah.
business and something happens, easily could be in the thousands very quickly.
And in terms of the services you can use anywhere, right? You can use
Yes,
anywhere you want it.
yes,
You can call them. You can have 50 states in
mhm,
Canada.
yes.
And another thing is people I see, during COVID, people that struggle with housing.
Oh, yes.
Even some people I know, many people that I know have struggled with the reviewing documentation contract, didn't even know what to do,
Yes,
and they
yes.
can't afford somebody to look at their view, pay a lot of money, and can't afford.
Yes, I work with the largest actually Somali trucking company in Central Ohio, and one of their employees called me because her mother was living with her and has health problems and like breathing problems. So she moves into this really supposed to be really nice apartment, and there was actually some mold because water was getting under the carpet or something. And it was there when she went to look at the apartment. They said, "Oh, it'll be fixed before you move in," and it wasn't. And so she calls me frantic. She's like, "I don't know what to do. I need to, my mother is here all day. I need an attorney. I've talked to attorneys. They're talking about $350 an hour to deal with my new landlords." So what happened was she has her membership. She was able to pick up the phone, speak to the attorney, send her lease. I told her to document what was happening. So she started documenting everything. And this was going on for about 3 weeks after she moved into her new place. She had to move out and move her mother out of the place because of the mold and her health problems. Her son also had a little asthma. And so, anyway, she ended up getting the attorneys involved, and they contacted the landlord on her behalf, made a
Wow.
phone call, reviewed her documents. None of that cost her extra. And I talked to her just the other day, and they are fixing everything.
Wow, that's very powerful,
Huge,
huge. I
huge.
mean, it's somebody who really trying to navigate, trying to pay the bills also,
Right.
but it's a
Yeah, and this apartment was like $2,000 a month.
wow.
Big expense, and you're still paying your rent, but things aren't fixed. And so we have rights. And the problem that occurs a lot of times is we don't know what our rights are. I had a little weird situation. I own a property, but I also lease a property. And the lease property, the landlord asked me to pay him in Cash App. And I said, "What? I
Mm.
mean, I'm not paying my bills in Cash App. I'm going to pay them by a check or money order, this way." And so I didn't know if I had to do it. And he asked me 1 month. And I said, "No, I'm not going to do that." He asked me another month. Then got to month 3, and I was just tired of him asking me because I didn't want to do it. He's like, "Everybody is paying me this way." And what happened was he was moving out of state. So he wanted to get his money really fast. So he figured he asked me to pay Cash App. So anyway, I called the law firm and I said, "Hey, I've got this little issue." Actually, I tapped the app, put my question in the app, and the lawyer called me. They call you back within 4 hours. And I called and we talked to the lawyer, and he basically said, "Well, what does your lease say?" And I said, "My lease says cash or check." And he says, "He cannot require you to pay him in Cash App." And I said, "Well, he keeps asking me." And he says, "It's okay." I said, "If he asks you again, you have him call me. You can't give me his number and I'll call him." I was like, "Okay." So you kind of makes you feel like, you got your legal big brother behind you that
Yes.
like when you were a kid on the playground and somebody messed with you. He said, "What? Oh, do I need to pull out my legal shield? What's going on? I'm gonna pull out my legal shield on you, and I don't have to make it up, you know what I mean?" People say, "I'm gonna
Yeah.
call my lawyer," and they don't have a lawyer to call, frankly. And in this case, you and we are covered, so we have a lawyer to call. And
Mhm.
there's no dumb question either. Any question you have, they will give you the answer under the law in the state of Ohio. Now, if you have a situation in California, we'll get you a lawyer in California. You'll call your provider law firm here in Ohio or whatever state you live in, and then they will refer you to a lawyer in that other state. So that's how you get interstate coverage for your family.
Mhm.
If you have a kids away in college in a different state, they can use the service in the other state. Had a young man, and I'll try to be brief on these stories, but there was a young man, lived in Georgia, went to school up in the East Coast in New Jersey, ended up first weekend, everybody's excited to be in college. goes out with some new friends. He don't know these people very well, you know, college campus.
Yeah.
Goes out with them. Come to find out, it was four young men of color. He ends up, again, they got stopped that weekend coming from the party, and the officer wanted to search the car. Well, first of all, does the officer have the right to search the car just because I stopped you? The answer actually is no, but we don't know why he stopped, you know. So anyway, long story short, the young man, mother had given him the number to the provider law firm 24/7, because this was after midnight. And he's in the car with these guys. They tell him to get out, all the, you know, the whole thing. And so he gets out of the car and he says, I'm going to call my attorney. And the officer's like, you don't have no attorney. He said, my mama said, if you ever get in trouble, use this number. Don't call her, use this. Mm-hmm. And he called the attorneys, got them on the phone, let them know what was happening. They said, we'd like to speak to the officer. So the young man gives the phone to the officer. Officer goes, gives the phone back to the young man. And he said, you, and you, the other three guys, you're going to jail tonight because they found a gun in the car that the driver had and nobody knew.
Wow.
The three of them went to jail, and he said, you're going home. That's
wow.
The power.
That's a power of access
like this has. And, wow. You know, we get profiled all the time. Driving while black, brown, or other, or whatever. They could ask you for your papers. Do they have the right? These are the kinds of questions that a new American may not know the answer. They just, you don't want to get in trouble, so you're going to do whatever they say. But whatever they say doesn't mean they have the right to ask you that. Doesn't mean they have the right to say that. And so now, by having this little service, which is really big, we have 4.7 million members across the country and Canada. So lots of people have the service.
Wow.
But there's over 330 million people in the country. Mm-hmm. So that's just a little drop in the bucket. But, you know, now having access to an affordable service where you can pick up the phone and speak to an attorney in that area of law and not have to worry about how much is this going to cost me is powerful. I've heard of lots of new Americans, which I know why you do the work you do, coming here, trying to get other family members here, get their papers right, getting charged money and then not getting the services that they paid for. Who do they call when that happens? Who do you call when your car insurance doesn't want to pay the claim, or your life insurance doesn't want to pay, or the homeowner's insurance? There was a lady down during Katrina, you know, she had flood insurance and homeowner's insurance, and she had $100,000 in both policies, and she ended up moving to Georgia, and she was a member. And so she calls our provider law firm. She's been trying to get, now Katrina, everybody know Katrina happened.
Yes.
So they didn't want to pay her the money for her policy. They said they were doing this and that and giving her the runaround. She called the attorneys. She gave the numbers of the insurance companies. They reached out on her behalf, wrote a letter, made phone calls, whatever they needed to do. And they called her up and they said, hey, we've got your checks within a few weeks. And she's like, well, how much did you take out of it? And they're like, nothing. So she got $200,000 for the insurance claims that she had been fighting with these companies to get because she had access to affordable care with this service. Huge. Change your life. And most of the time, like if an attorney collects money for you, they'll take 30%, something like that, 33 1/3 or whatever. Well, because all they did, they said, we just wrote a letter for you. We made phone calls for you. It's okay. It's covered by the membership. The way that our attorneys are able to do this is because they are paid in advance. They are prepaid for the services that they are providing. So whether we call or not, they're going to get paid. And so that's why they were like, we don't need to collect money from you. We get a check every month for all the memberships that are on the books in their state. And it's just a huge benefit. And I really am happy that you're taking the time to share this information because, like you said, legal access to affordable care is just like affordable health care. We need affordable care for legal situations because the fact of the matter is there's two of us on here right now talking. One of us has a legal situation right now. And that's just the fact. But fortunately for us, both of us have a lawyer
Exactly,
to
exactly.
call.
That is very powerful. That's what I call the power of access. Like,
Yes.
I do remember, the when I look always says, this attorney has 20 up there 22 years of experience, and also
Hmm.
24 hours 7 365 emergency access.
Yes.
You have that car, you call anybody anytime you have questions, issues.
Hmm.
So that is a very powerful,
And
and because the family who have legal issues, who try to figure out, you know no, don't have enough money to look somebody,
mhm.
it's a big help for when they get the services, I think,
Mhm.
and the cost is a
Oh,
very minimum. It's a
yeah,
dollar a day.
yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah.
very powerful.
Absolutely. And if there's something that's not part of the membership, we still cover every area of law. A person may have to pay a 25% discount, but they get their consultations included. And that's
Mhm.
where we get in trouble, where we don't start the process correctly because we don't know what to do. And then we just start being reactionary. And that's where you get in trouble. So having consultations, unlimited consultations, is crucial to a person that has a legal situation. The other thing I want to bring up is I had a couple of situations where people called me because their children got in trouble, and it covers you, covers your wife or husband. It covers if you're not married, if you have a significant other, it covers you and that significant other, and all the children in that household under the age of 26, as long as they're not married. Even if they're away at college, like I mentioned in the story, they're covered. So that is huge. And so what happened with the situation is the person that talked about getting the services and didn't get it, and the young man ended up incarcerated because he was being charged with something and they couldn't afford the attorneys. And so then they had to get a public defender. And you never know what's going to happen in that situation. You never know what's going to happen anyway. But at least if you have a lawyer of your own that you can know and trust, and if there's ever a problem, we have a whole network of people that help to make sure that the lawyers give the best service. So we have a way to monitor that behavior as well. So
Wow, that's very powerful. Housing, business,
yeah,
family,
yeah,
any legal issues. That's a very powerful. Migration. I mean, it's just a really powerful when you have access and you have a phone to call and say, "Hey, this is my issue."
yes,
That's a very powerful because remember, please, remember, consider it because it's very powerful. I have seen many community people always trying to struggle with finding a attorney, finding to get, and they don't have the money. They borrow people. It's a challenge. Even they want to ask questions, consultation very expensive.
yeah,
You know, um, um, I'm glad you really are breaking down those barriers. And the idea is always affordable legal access for all, because we
mhm,
need to break down the barriers so people can afford it, but at
yes,
least have access. It's very
absolutely,
powerful.
absolutely.
I want to ask you one thing. The
Mhm.
so they can call anytime, any number. I mean, they call them any states, 50 states. And they could be always a good conversation, right?
Yes. The way that it works is, the 9 to 5 phone calls are things like, like we were talking about housing or rental issues or issues on the job, maybe an employer's, you're being harassed. Lately, I've been getting people being harassed on their jobs and they need to work, but then they don't want to work. And I mean, I've had a couple of people calling about things like that. Um, Documents or contracts, getting your will done, living will, all those kinds of things. The 24/7 access is for things like if they want to arrest you, search your car, there's been a car accident, they come to your home to take your children, child custody, emergency situations like that. You call after 5 p.m. until the next morning when the law office opens up. So you can call and they'll tell you if it's a situation where they can get an attorney on the phone right away, or if it's something that has to wait until the morning. But we do have 24/7 access to our attorneys every day of the week, including the holidays. In every state, there are 2 attorneys on call in every state to take calls. And we take about 20,000 plus phone calls a week, which is huge, huge. And we have the capacity to handle it. Right now, we do have the largest network of Spanish-speaking attorneys in the country. And then we also have the largest network of commercial driver attorneys that help truck drivers. So we have 2, specializations, and then we have our other provider law firms as well.
Wow. Thank you, girl. I appreciate you for what you have done on it. It's important. Remember, please, always you have our numbers. I'll put on later on the chat. And please, take care of your family, your community, your neighbors.
Absolutely.
I will switch in Somali now. So also Gale Warren gabar runtii ka socota BBLSI direct Ohio regionkeeda. Marka waxaan muhiim ah in macnaha looyaradan waa looyaro qofka awoodi karo in wax yar iska bixiyo wuxuu rabo inuu isticmaali karaa waxay noqoto waraaqay ka fiirin karaan heshiisyadu galaayo haddii macnaha tigid ku siiyo kuwa taaglayaasha ah macnaha way heli karaan garan karaan Mareykan oo dhan kontaksteed oo dhan oo gobol oo dhan ayuu macnaha ayaad ku isticmaali kartaa caruurtaada geli kartaa xaaskaaga waxa u baahatay waana wax yar iska bixinaya wax yar lacag maxamed badnayn marka muhiimna waayo qofku inuu ka faa'iideysto inuu helo macnaha shariiqaan u dooda markastana haysta markastana waxa ku diyaar ku ah markaad heshid number ku siinayaan numberkaaga wacanaysaa meel walba joogto waxay ku weydiinayaan numberkaaga aad macnaha baagareysada kaarka insurance kala waa isticmaalaysaa markasta u baahatid caruurtaada iskoolaha hadday noqoto furuta hadday noqoto haddii guryaha lagugu dhibo kale haddii macnaha sharciyada dhibka haystaan oo kale waxyaalo badan oo macnaha aad lacag badan lagaga qaadan lahaa ku faa'iideynaysaa inaad saa ula socotaan qof looyarka arkaayo 200 ama 300 laga qaadaa marka ugu horeyso ama waxba lagu qabanin ama lacag badan dhigaa lagu leeyahay marka ka faa'iideysta waana idiin soo dhigayaa macnaha nambarada runtii qofka raba inuu ka faa'iideysto looyar u baahan oo kale markastana caruurtaada iyo gurigaaga iyo faamilada ugu faa'iideynaysaa waana muhiim inuu qofka haysto wuxuu awoodi karo inuu markasta uu haysto uu sharci qofka u weydiiyo qof sharci yaqaan waa muhiim waay again Gail, thank you so much and we appreciate for you coming tonight coming engagement with Burhan and then we'll continue the conversation we'll be advocating many issues on the server committee thank you
and we need help we need people to join you Burhan
yes
so if we can get some people that are interested that speak different languages we need people that we can train on the services so that they can get the word out about this. So if you're looking for an extra $500 or $1,000 a month, call Burhan and we'll get you set up and I'll get you trained.
Thank you, my friend. Thank Absolutely. You so much. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.